I was going to say, because when I normally think of detachment, I think of indifference or complacency, and that's not what you're talking about.
Nothing to do with either complacency or indifference, right? The contrary.
Okay.
It's like total difference, total involvement, total compassion, total absolute concern for and working within humanity, but at the same time standing back and be doing what you do with detachment, with the total altruistic nature of the soul. The soul is totally altruistic. On the soul plane, there is no sense of separation of I. It doesn't occur to the soul. And it's to inculcate that altruistic, detached view and action in life which is wanted. So you don't identify with the physical body, which is corruptible, lasts just so long and dies, with the feeling body, which likewise is corruptible and lasts so long and dies, or with the creations of the mental body, which likewise lasts only as long as the physical body lasts. None of these are you. And it is that kind of detachment from that identification which is meant by Maitreya.
Going back to self-realization and becoming aware of the self, in a spirit, this is a spiritual sense, are there any prayers or anything like that would help us achieve that?
All prayers would help one achieve it. The Lord's Prayer, if used, would help one achieve it. But Maitreya has given to the world a new prayer, which is called the Prayer for the New Age, in which you identify yourself with the self. I am the creator of the universe, that which stands back of all creation. That is you, that is me, that is all people. Everybody is the creator of the universe. And so you get a growing sense of yourself, not as an omnipotent being, but as you truly are, as a spiritual essence at the root of everything that you are. Maitreya says, sometimes you get a feeling that there's something or someone standing behind you, around you, above you, all around you. That is the self. This happens when you are alone. Most people are afraid to be alone. They get lonely. But he says, in fact, that state of loneliness is a marvelous state in which to sense the self, because we hide it from ourselves. We rush for entertainment. We turn on the radio, the television. We meet friends. We do anything other than sit quietly alone, experiencing ourselves as the self. And yet it says everybody needs this. They need this space around them in which they cannot be got at. They can't be asked to do things. They can't be forced to do this or do that for other people or for themselves or for anybody else. But given that space in which the self, you can become aware of the self in a very powerful way. And this growing awareness makes you able to tap into the self just like that at a moment. So you say the New World Prayer, you practice detachment, honesty of mind and sincerity of spirit, and in a very few lives you create the conditions in which self-awareness grows into self-realization.
Since Maitreya isn't appearing on television or writing books, how has he communicated his teachings?
Well, through me, he gave 140 messages at my regular lectures in London about his coming, in which fragments of those teachings are given. But very specifically, he gave a body of teachings through to one of his close associates in the Asian community of London where he lives and has been living since July 1977. These teachings given to his associate he was asked to send on, pass on, to two journalists, independent journalists, and they were asked to pass it on to me for the dissemination through our magazine, Share International, and we also sent a large number of the forecasts which he made, the political and economic and so on, forecasts to the world's media. And over a period of about 3.5 years, from 1988 to about June 1988 onwards, he gave a huge number of of predictions of world events which one after another in the most uncanny way have taken place. We're now waiting for the stock exchange crash, which is one of the big ones not yet finalized. And in this way, the teachings, as we know, or at least the preliminary phase of the teachings of Maitreya, have been given.
Now, Maitreya says in one of those messages, let your awareness grow. Awareness is the light of life. In a nutshell, what does that mean?
The whole of life depends on awareness. In fact, what we take to be ourselves, this physical body, this mechanism of sensation, this mental body which is churning out ideas or taking in ideas, whichever, or both, is really an instrument. It's an instrument of growing awareness of the nature of reality. And but for that, we would never know the purpose of life, we would never evolve, we would never reach any kind of potential. Now, we have the potential of all creation at our fingertips if we evolve an instrument of awareness, by which means we could come into contact with it. So it is like antenna. Awareness is the antenna by which we sense out the nature of God, which is the nature of reality. The nature of all creation is open to us through what we call awareness. That is the light which carries us forward in evolution.
Okay. You know, in my own experience, the biggest thing that keeps me from realizing my full potential in many ways, I suppose, is fear. And I've only come to understand that recently. It seems to me, for a lot of us, I think, fear is what really holds us back and causes a lot of misery. Do Maitreya's teachings address this issue of fear and how to overcome it?
Yes, well, the whole process of detachment is to do with a growing detachment from fear. Fear is the corroding glamour, as the masters call it, the illusion. Fear is the result of a complete illusion about the nature of reality. We think we are separate. We are not. There is no such thing as separation. That's the major heresy from which all fears come. We feel we're going to be alone, we feel we're not going to be loved, we feel we're not going to get what we need, and so on. Yet life, that's us, what we call God, which is also in us, provides everything that everybody needs. And when they need it, when they become aware of the need, and when they can work creatively towards that need. And so everything is there. There is no need to be afraid. Animals are not afraid. The fear is the result of thought. As soon as you can think, you can become afraid. Animals don't think. They have an instinctual reaction to life. They run away. An antelope will run away from a leopard or a lion, not because it's afraid, because it doesn't want to be the lion's dinner. It knows if it doesn't run, it'll be its dinner. It doesn't think, oh my goodness, you know. If you're afraid, then you inhibit the adrenaline which makes you run. The lion causes the antelope to run, but not from fear, but through the adrenaline which courses through it and puts speed on its limbs. But we normally, if we're afraid, we become inhibited. We cannot run. We cannot do what we need to do to escape from whatever danger. And you're really talking about psychological fear. And psychological fear can only be addressed from a growing sense of detachment. You have to realize that there is no need to be afraid. You can ask yourself, who am I? Who am I? And you will find you are the fear if you identify with the fear. But if you don't identify with the fear, you're not afraid. So you have to learn this growing detachment from your physical body, from the emotional, feelings, and sensational body, where this real fear starts, and where, from the mental body, where it becomes a thought form, where you can control your reactions. You do so by a growing detachment. So the thing to get over fear is to become detached from the need to fear. You must become totally fearless if you are going to truly live.